Hello, welcome again to Tiverton on Track. This is episode 19, and I'm Justin Katz. This is the we try to be weekly podcast, live stream, whatever you want to call it, of the Tiverton Taxpayers Association here in Tiverton, Rhode Island. As I said, this is episode number 19, and today we're going to be talking with Sheri Aakre and Joel Bishop, two of the Tiverton Taxpayers Association candidates for town council here in town. Today is October 26th. That's a Monday, just a bit over a week until this whole election season is over. So that brings me to track one, is what are you voting for again? So it's been such a strange election year. When I first got involved, and I'm saying this is local to national, when I first got involved, I remember I ran for school committee, I think it was 2012. The Newport Daily News was still doing live debates of all candidates under their coverage area. It felt like a thing to run. You got your picture taken, and it was in the paper. Everybody got to try doing an interview with people asking you questions and a debate. Maybe if you want to be cynical, maybe it was all kind of phony back then, but it felt like something. It felt like people were trying to inform the voters so they could make an informed decision. This year, by contrast, nationally, we've all seen. It seemed like, for example, Joe Biden hasn't even been running a campaign to some extent. It's very quiet like that. Locally, the Secana Times, which covers Tiverton, they're not even allowing candidates to write letters to the editor. That's always been a thing, was the dueling letters. They're saying they don't have space. You would have thought this was what sold their papers. So it's almost as if everybody's now acknowledging that ideas don't matter. We're all just factions fighting for your vote. But we at the Tiverton Taxpayers Association and on Tiverton on Track do believe that ideas matter and that you should know about the candidates. So that's why we're doing a series of interviews this week with the 7 members of the TTA slate. So today I have Sheri Aakre and Joel Bishop, and here we go. Welcome to Sheri Aakre and Joel Bishop to our Tiverton Taxpayers Association hidden bunker. It's much nicer than a hidden bunker tends to be. So let's just start with before we get into any kind of political stuff or government. Just Sheri, tell us about how your history in Tiverton, when you came here, and that sort of thing.
My husband is retired military, and we moved here almost 11 years ago now. We moved to Tiverton. We had lived in Newport for probably about 3 years before we started looking for a house to buy. Finally settled on Tiverton because it was a beautiful rural community on the water and exactly what we were looking for. And it's really, it's a beautiful neighborhood, and we love the area. And it's been a little bit hard because I have 3 sons that are grown, and we really just have a lot of family in other places. So it's hard being away from them. We both traveled a lot when we were younger for work, my husband being in the military, and I was in IT. I worked as like a contractor for U.S. Department of State, so we traveled all over the world. So it's been a little bit hard being so far away from family, but Tiverton is a beautiful area, and we really had planned on trying to find some place to settle down. We lived on our boat for a few years, and that was one of the reasons why we wanted to find a water town, was because we had lived on our boat, needed to find a place, ended up bringing it up to the marina across the river. And this was also a close place before we sold the boat to get to it and be able to enjoy the water. It's really a beautiful town, and there's a lot that we really love about the town. I think there's a lot that could be done to make it better.
All right. Well, I think that's a
changed.
That's a question coming up: is what can make it better. So, Joel, how about you? What brought you to town and all that stuff? Background.
Yeah, so my wife and I were living up in Boston for about a decade after we got married, and we had our first daughter, our first kid, our child, and it's a daughter, and we also have a son now. Since we've moved down here, we found Tiverton because we wanted to start a farm. Actually, we found a farm, the old Leiden farm, the tomato farm, and we decided that we were going to start a farm, and we found this town and just really fell in love with it. We moved down here, and I still work in computers, usually up in Boston, so I'm often traveling up there, which is stressful and difficult sometimes, but like Sheri said, it's a great town, it's a beautiful town, and we're happy to be here. We have a large plot of land here, and we're raising our kids here, so we're interested in town politics and making sure that this is going to be a good place for our kids to grow up.
I think people from elsewhere in the country, and if you've traveled, you know that, laugh at us around here for thinking everything is so far away when it's really so close. But I think they might not appreciate what the traffic is like from here to Boston on some days. It feels really close, but it can be a long haul if you're at the wrong time. So you actually gave us a great segue into my next question, which was, what's the sort of background for you getting involved in town politics?
Is that to me?
Yep.
So again, my daughter is in school here, and we are running a business here, and I have tried to start a vineyard and have not been able to, and that's what actually got me involved in the politics here. We want to grow our business, and we want the town to be friendly to business, and we want it to be again a good place for us to raise our family. And it seems as though unless we get involved, our taxes are just going to keep going up, and we may not be able to continue to live here. So I decided that it was time to throw my hat in the ring and get involved.
Yeah, I can attest to the long experience. Many of us have been doing it for about 15 years. Got involved because it was clear taxes were just going to keep going up. And we've been hearing recently of some of our opposition have been saying, well, the taxes actually aren't that bad. Well, yeah, because we stopped them from continuing to go up. So Sheri, how about you? What got you involved and interested in doing political stuff?
I actually, have always been kind of involved, or I should say, I've enjoyed following, politics, and traveling overseas to different countries, seeing what it was like for people overseas in different countries that had it so hard. When you come back to the United States, you always had such a grateful outlook on what we had, um, and so I realized talking to people overseas that I didn't have as good a knowledge as I would like about even national politics. So I started, kind of educating myself on what was going on. I met Jeff Karen, and found out, we had looked into what was going on in Tiverton, wondering why some things had not, worse had stayed, I guess, over the first few years we moved into the house here, the same, and had not been, like, no effort was being made to work on specific things that we saw around town. Um, and also taxes. We watched the taxes go up for the first few years that we moved in the house, pretty heavily, and we were trying to figure out why. And so we got him. I finally started talking to other people around town and found out about the um, Tiverton Taxpayers Association, and met other people that were, you know, um, conservative, fiscally, that seemed to have the same ideals, and tried to talk to them about, what was happening in town. And Nancy Driggs and Rob Coulter were two big and yourself were big influences in being able to find out exactly, how things, um, the history of what has happened and how the FTR came to be. Um, because politics in Tiverton is different than a lot of places that we had lived before. Things are done, very differently. And so that's how I got into it. And then I ran for the budget committee. Been on the budget committee for 2 years, and I've really learned a lot. I think it would be great to have more volunteers in town, people that want to learn. Even if you just go on the tours of the facilities and the buildings when the committees get to take tours every year, it's open to the public. It's really a good experience and a good way to see exactly how our town runs and just see the buildings and what kind of condition they're in and what all is going on around town.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that things are different in Tiverton politics. I hear that all the time, and I hear it from people across the state, and that they say it's always been that way. I don't know why that would be. Maybe there's a lot of kind of economic diversity in the town, and maybe that creates
I don't
frictions.
think it has to be. I think that there are a lot of misconceptions out there. For instance, I saw a post on social media that someone had said that they basically believed it, we have um, this town's kind of split with people that feel like they have to be on one side or another. But someone had mentioned that the schools had only received $1 for the last 4 to 5 years. Well, we know that's not true. And unfortunately, even though most of our budget committee meetings are, could put you to sleep, the school meeting every year definitely doesn't. So they could come and see that the schools, that worries me that there are parents out there that believe that the schools have not been receiving, have only received $1 for the last few years. And that's something that I think another area, if I got on the town council, that I'd be able to, I think there are things that could be changed to better structure the long-term goals of the town and being able to just kind of change the way that we do things so that some of that turmoil and those fights don't have to happen anymore.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is transparency and understanding straight where information comes from. I know it took years for us to understand what was really going on in a school budget, that they were claiming deficits when it looked like they were running surpluses. So Joel, since you've started getting involved, what's something that's kind of surprised you about town politics and town government?
I know we're trying to keep this positive, but the vicious attacks is what I find most surprising. Ever since I got involved with the TTA specifically, and so maybe it's your fault, I don't know. It's just been attack after attack after attack. I don't understand why we have to be so divided. I think on a very basic level, most of us agree on general principle of what we need to get done and what's best for everybody. Generally nobody wants year after year tax increases. Everybody wants there to be more efficiency, better solutions to problems. And it just seems like those that are in power have one solution, and that solution is spend, 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 and that means tax, tax, tax. We need people that want to work hard, number one. I mean, I'm a farmer. I didn't become a farmer because it was going to be easy. We need people who are going to work hard, and we also need people that are going to come up with intelligent solutions, something efficient, something that doesn't just cause us to raise the taxes every time. I mean, we're a community, and we need to work together as a community. And the divisiveness, it's got to end. We need to come together, and we need to. When people start being divisive, we need to stand up together and say, no, we're not going to have that. We're going to work together, and even if we disagree, we're going to try to work together and just assume that everybody is trying to work towards the best solution, until they're not. But we got to stop the divisiveness. I mean, that's the biggest thing. I cannot believe how divided this town is with politics, and we all just need to come together in the middle.
Yeah, I think it's important to know that that's actually not really new. Back when there were the financial town meetings, we would go and we'd all be in this high school gym, and it was red shirts for the people who wanted bigger budgets for the school mainly, and there was nobody really else. And so people would get up and they'd say, and that's why raising taxes always seems like the solution, because it's easy. And then people don't really push back too much. And then when people would, they would get up and they'd say, my taxes are going up too much. I mean, I remember I tried to explain I didn't make much money at the time, what $300 a year meant to me, actually. Mm-hmm. And I listed some things I would spend it on, and people in the audience, and a lot of them teachers, jeered and booed at me. Presents for my children. It was booed for Christmas. It was really, that's where the divisiveness comes from, I think, is that at some point you can't talk back. So Sheri, what are some things that have surprised you about local government and politics?
Like I was saying, kind of to go on what Joel was saying, it is being on the budget committee. I've seen that we do have the capability, even if we disagree, to try to come to some middle ground and work together. And I think that there are a lot of things that the town council can do if we stop and listen. Actually listen to each other, and stop. We've had a lot of our current town council members that are on the TTA slate that have been completely stifled when they want to speak and they feel like they have something that's important to say. And I think it's really important. That really surprised me that when other town councilors have been allowed to go on and speak their mind and get their point of view across. We have a lot of intelligent people in town, and a lot of people, volunteer and spend so much of their time volunteering. And, even though we're elected officials, we don't get paid to be on the budget committee. We spent an awful lot of time this year because of COVID. Our season extended. So I really think that we have to try to stop and realize that the people that are spending this time trying to get involved with the town, everybody has ideas. Now, obviously we have meeting time limits and things like that, but everybody should be given equal opportunity to say what it is without feeling like they're being attacked by other counselors. There's no reason for it. And I mean, for instance, when Mr. Coulter was managing the meetings, if you watch the videos, if you were to go on to the website and watch the videos, everything ran smoothly. He always gave everybody an equal opportunity to speak their piece and to say what they felt was important. And he didn't try to cut anybody off and say, you can't finish saying because, for whatever reason they have stopped, Miss Counselor Cook and Counselor Driggs from saying, what they feel like is necessary, something that's very important and near and dear to their heart. They should be able to speak their mind and say what it is. We just have a lot of people with a lot of good ideas, and if some of those, especially if the TTA gets the ability to try to make changes in this town, being on the budget committee, I've learned a lot about how like I was just saying a little while ago, there are things that could be changed that are small, easy things that, that could be changed to try to streamline and make things better, to maintain the support for, our vital services, for, stabilizing tax rates and, establishing long-term goals for the town, and trying to find a way to bring the people of Tiverton, the voters, into that, since I started running before, which sometimes when you first run for office, a local office, and you're not familiar with politics, you kind of have these grandiose goals of things that you'd really like to accomplish in the town. And that doesn't always happen very quickly. But I think there are some simple things that could be done that kind of help, and making a really logical and intelligent long-term plan for the town, and trying to implement that and bring the voters, finding out what the priority, actually trying to incorporate what the people of Tiverton see as their priorities and what they would like to see prioritized as things that they would like in the town or done. And one of the main things is, we had such a hard time with COVID. This next budget cycle, one of the biggest things that we're going to have to deal with is figuring out where the casino revenue, how much we're going to get, how it's going to be utilized and spent, and what the best way to deal with that going forward is. And the voters really need to have a say in that.
Yeah, the idea of goals. Now, Joel, look, grandiose or otherwise, looking out, say, I mean, I know that the terms are only 2 years, but looking out, say, 4 years after TTA town council with you on it, what do you think the town will look like at that point? Where do you think it'll be headed?
Well, again, I hope we have some intelligent solutions that are net positive for the town. We have the capping of our landfill that's going to be something that we're going to have to take over, or to undertake rather. That's a solution or a problem that we're going to need a solution to. Again, raising taxes to ship our trash across the state. It's an easy solution, but it's probably not the best solution. I'd like to see the town be a lot more friendly to business, small business, especially being a business owner. If we bring in business, we can offset the taxes or the tax burden rather that we just shuffle off to the townspeople right now. And I think we just need to be more proactive, and we can have ideas that, again, are net positive for the town. So, again, raising taxes is not the only solution that we have. Other than that, much like what Sheri said, I think we need to be creating a town that is good for the younger generations. People are moving out of this town. The younger generation doesn't stick around here because there's nothing for them in Tiverton, and we need to change that. We need to make Tiverton be a place that the next generation is going to want to be here. Otherwise, we're going to have retirement homes. I mean, that's what Tiverton will be. It'll be retirement homes, and no businesses will be here. And that's not the Tiverton I want to see. I want to see a Tiverton that, adhering to our town plan, we can develop the town in such a way that we keep the nice small town effect. But we have people coming here. I mean, we should be capitalizing on the tourism. People are all heading down to Newport. They're driving right past Tiverton. There's no reason why they shouldn't stop here. But right now, we don't have a reason for people to stop in Tiverton. Somewhat we do. The Four Corners is a nice place, and people come there and they shop. But we need more. We need more reasons for people to come and visit our beautiful town. And that is going to be how we bring up the people of Tiverton, make everybody a little more successful, and especially again with the small businesses, making everybody just a little bit more successful and making those businesses be able to offset that tax burden.
Yeah, it's interesting the idea of people coming to Tiverton. I know the big plan that they're putting forward, and they're debating on how to force a lot of affordable housing into the town and how to manage town management assumes that a commuter rail to northern Fall River will make Tiverton the only town in Rhode Island with population growth, which is possible, I guess, but it all seems like a reactive way to go about planning rather than look for opportunity here. It's always like something that's happening from the outside in. Well, thank you both for joining me, and I wish you luck for the election. And either way, I look forward to keeping you both involved, no matter how crazy it can get around here. I think you're both definitely part of the solution.
Thank you.
Thanks, Justin.
Well, and thank you for spending some time with us. I hope you found that informative. On our Facebook page and on tivertonfactcheck.com or .org, either works, you can find a previous video with Nancy Driggs and Robert Coulter. We've got interviews with the other candidates coming up, and I hope you'll check those out. Also, you can, that's tivertonfactcheck.org, and also our Facebook page or our YouTube page. We're also putting these up as audio-only podcasts. You can access that through all of the normal podcast things, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, and all of that stuff. And if you want more information on the candidates specifically and on the TTA Slate platform and that sort of thing, letters to the editors and all these videos, actually, I'll put them there as well. You can go to tta2020.com, and that's the limited time only campaign website. So thanks for joining us, and I hope to see you next time.